Doctor, tell us, can we end poverty in our lifetime?
Okay.
On the way to the podium, I'll show you my building blocks here. This is 1 billion each block, and this is US in aid, Britain, Germany, this is Sweden, and I emphasize this is your foundation, the white ones there, so they wouldn't put too much demand on you.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good morning. It's fantastic to be here and have a chance to talk a little bit and also spend some time as a panel addressing questions that people have. It was about 6 years ago that I was last here and got my honorary doctorate. And I can say it's been a very exciting 6 years. It was actually right at that time that I made the transition from my full-time work being at Microsoft to my full-time work being, that one's done. All right, good. So since 2008, I've been full-time working at the foundation. And it's been very exciting. As you've heard, global health is an amazing story about what's been done, but also an amazing story about what we still need to do. And the last decade has seen more progress than any other decade in the history of global health. Our understanding of why children are dying, particularly in areas like the first 30 days, what's going on, what are the causes of respiratory deaths, what are the causes of the diarrheal deaths. In the case of malaria, how could we stop the cycle? Why is it that even as we treat people with drugs that malaria continues to be so prevalent? Many of these mysteries are now actually being unlocked using the very latest science. Now, taking that science and actually making new products is always very, very difficult. And then even once we invent those products, how we get those out to all the mothers of the world and all the children of the world, another very, very difficult thing, but one where I have a lot of optimism that we will be doing better. And I think we can take on some very ambitious goals. It was about, when I was working at Microsoft, my wife Melinda and I talked about the fact that we'd have a next phase, which would be taking the wealth and giving it back to have the highest impact possible. And it was during that time that we were reading and thinking, okay, what should we do? As you've seen, even a large foundation compared to governments, compared to trade numbers, it's not gigantic sums. And yet, if you can do something, if you can drive new breakthroughs, if you can make sure systems are well run, the impact per dollar can be pretty phenomenal. And so we were trying to learn. We were thinking a lot about making contraceptives available. That seemed to us like a very smart thing. And in fact, our first early grants in the 90s were focused entirely in that area. We thought, if women voluntarily can have contraceptives, that's got to be great for everyone. They may choose to space births. They may choose to have less children. And every issue in poor countries, whether it's feeding, educating, dealing with the environment, is a lot easier if the population growth is not super fast. And so we were getting to know a lot of people working both in this contraceptive area and in global health. One of the articles we ran into, this is a New York Times article talking about kids dying of diarrhea. And it was pretty amazing to me that there was a single cause of diarrhea called rotavirus, that alone was killing about 500,000 children a year. Because I'd never heard of rotavirus. And of course you hear about earthquakes and tornadoes or planes crashing, that's what makes the headlines. But I'd never seen a headline, 500,000 children dying of just one disease. And in fact, this was an interesting disease where there actually was a vaccine available in rich countries where kids had very, very little chance of dying of the disease, and not available in the poor countries where kids had a very significant chance of dying. So that struck me as that there was something wrong, and maybe in a way, as bad as this was, an opportunity for us to come in and make sure that the very latest technology was focused on the needs of the poorest countries. Global health, the default mode it operates in is one where medicines are invented for rich countries because there is a market, there is a clear business incentive there, and then over time the price comes down and they essentially trickle down to become available to the world at large. But that's very imperfect for several reasons. First of all, it can take 20 or 30 years before that trickle down takes place. And second is there are challenges in developing countries, particularly because of tropical disease burdens, things like malaria that have been seen in rich countries for over 50 years in any meaningful numbers that are just a huge disaster there. And so there won't be a malaria vaccine that trickles down because the market mechanism simply isn't asking that for it to be made. The people who have that need, their voice in the marketplace is very limited because of their economic status. And so the idea that our philanthropy could come in, play a role there, partner with governments, partner with universities, we got pretty excited about that, including having a goal of making sure a rotavirus vaccine would get to every child. And so we took that on. We learned the numbers. I think Hans is the most articulate at taking this basic good news story and getting it out so people understand that. We ask Hans to travel all over the world all the time to get the good news out there, and it's fantastic that you can just go up to Gapminder, go up to YouTube and see his explanations. I think that that alone has made a big difference in people understanding we are making progress. What we need to do is double down on the research and the delivery. I've called this many times my favorite chart ever because it really is about human progress. As much as anything that's gone on in the last 50 years, I'd put this very, very high on the list. In fact, childhood death, when the Millennium Development Goals were put together, one of the 8 goals was making progress on childhood death and being very ambitious about that. 6.6 million a year out of a birth cohort that's about 134 million now. So that's about 5%. Was about 20% of all children died before the age of 5. Now we're down to 5%. Our goal should be to get that down below 2% in the next 20 years. It's very doable. It takes a few dozen new medicines, particularly vaccines, and it takes great improvement in how we deliver those vaccines. But that's a goal we should take on as a very, very high priority. It's a combination of resources and innovation. Neither one alone will be enough. The resources fund these primary healthcare clinics. They fund the purchase of the vaccines. They fund the R&D to create the vaccines. Innovation is often deep science. Innovation can also be a measurement system that makes sure the healthcare workers are showing up, or a surveillance system that looks at where it's falling down so they get the feedback that you're missing a primary healthcare center here, or the way you're delivering supplies isn't working. Whether it's contraceptive supplies, vaccines, drugs, often these systems are falling down because of things that we really take for granted, that people are showing up, that the refrigerator works, that the supplies are there. A lot to be done to make sure that it really helps people. Sweden, of course, is incredibly generous. In fact, Sweden and Norway are the 2 most generous, giving over 1% of their GDP to foreign aid. And you're to be congratulated for that. It sets a fine example. Believe me, when I go to other countries, I'm talking about this generosity. And also, there's a lot of effort that goes in to make sure that this money has big impact. In absolute, it's over $5 billion. Actually, that's been growing with the economy, so it'll be even stronger in the years ahead. And the focus on women, the focus on a lot of the same issues we have, means that we've had a strong partnership with the government and with CETA to make sure these things work. I mentioned vaccines. Gavi is a group that got created around 2001 when our foundation saw that there was something missing there, and it's gotten the prices down, gotten the vaccines out, including rotavirus. Rotavirus now, it's about 24% of all children in the world get rotavirus vaccine. And by the end of this decade, we'll have that number up at about 85%. The only thing that will hold us back then is the delivery challenge. That these vaccine delivery systems aren't getting out to every child. But every child you get vaccines to, this rotavirus will be included in that package. So that, that's a goal, and that's a goal that by it in and of itself has now saved millions of lives. Another big challenge has been HIV, along with malaria and TB, and Global Fund. They got created to deal with that. Just had a successful fundraising round. Sweden was a very generous participant in that. And there's a lot of additional understanding about how to take this money and spend it in a more effective fashion, how to keep people on treatment for the lowest cost possible. Sweden has worked with us on things like getting the price of contraceptives down. Some things we did over the last couple of years have brought things like the implants or the injection, brought the prices on those down by almost a factor of 2. By making commitments to manufacturers, they're able to work with higher volumes. So it's almost magical that for very little you can get so much done. And we're looking forward to doing a lot of new things, getting the drug companies to put more into these poor world diseases. The goal is an ambitious goal. You can talk about poverty, you can talk about health. I think the greatest equity is that a child should have, everywhere should have very little chance of dying. Every mother should think that my child is going to survive, and that changes behavior. Women choose then to have less kids, which of course helps with all the problems. Also, as we improve health, for every life we save, there's at least 4 lives where the child survives childhood, but because of lack of nutrition or cerebral malaria or other health insults, including parasitic diseases, they never develop fully mentally or physically, and so they're held back. And their country, whether they're able to provide, even if they can provide an education, that person isn't able to be a productive member of society. And so these health issues are so much at the center of letting countries lift themselves up, letting countries be self-sufficient. The goal we've set here is that we shouldn't have any country where more than 5% of the children are dying before the age of 5. We have countries today like the north of Nigeria where that number's about 17%. Congo, that number's about 20%. And so we have got a long ways to go, both in the tools and delivery system. But this is what, since I was here last, I've devoted my time to, and this is now my full-time effort. It's very exciting. It's fun to see the progress. It's great to have partners like the government of Sweden and Hans helping to get the good news out and also get people to try a little bit harder, both on the resources and the delivery effort. That's what it's going to take to get this done, but I'm very optimistic we'll achieve it. Thank you.